A year ago, Dragon Age The Veilguard was released. And what better day to release a game about a magical veil between worlds on the verge of falling than the day often celebrated as the passage between the world of the dead and the living. While some people like me were utterly excited to finally play it, a bunch of others spent the time spreading hate and terrible critics over something they didn't even know yet. Finding any positive videos about Veilguard ever since the first announcement and the name change has been horribly difficult. Fans have been split between those who loved it and those who wish this game didn't exist. But also haters that I like to call tourists who were just repeating the same crap like an echo chamber of undeserved hatred. Past BioWare devs have been the target of so much shit, while they did their absolute best to deliver this fantastic game, despite the chaos of its development. And from these few words, and the title of this video, I think you know where I stand. I love Dragon Age The Veilguard with my whole heart, with its flaws and its chaotic creative process. I'm not here to blame anyone for what happened to it, but I want for this first anniversary to make a video I had in mind since I beat the game. An overall review of sorts? A fair one, coming from a long-time fan. If a Dragon Age dev sees this, first, thank you. And I'm so sorry for what you all went through. You all deserve so much better and thankful for all your hard work to make this game real. The fact it exists is a miracle on its own. So yeah, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Oh, and just keep in mind, this video will contain spoilers for the entire game. First, I shall introduce myself. So, hi. If you don't know me, I'm Lucia, a Swiss artist who's been drawing, illustrating, making comics, a bunch of characters, cosplays, stories, music, animatics, and even memes around this universe for over 4 years now. As you may hear from my weird accent, I'm a French speaker, so I apologize in advance if I butcher any words or mispronounce something. I discovered Dragon Age when I was 14 with Inquisition, very early 2015, and then played every other games, read the books, comics, novels, short stories. I even watched the movie, the live-action web series, the audio drama, the Netflix show, and just consumed every bit of lore I could find. So much that I even made a self-insert character who is basically just an old Legion scholar, writing and illustrating codices alongside DATV. Dragon Age to me is a series about stories, characters, hardships, and how they overcome them in this fantasy realm that is status. While it is fantasy for sure, so many themes are correlated to our own world, and the choices we can take are interesting ways to fully understand how a simple choice would change the outcome of something far more complex. It taught me things about myself, my philosophy, and overall probably made me a more compassionate person too. Simply from being able to see the two sides of a story, like the Mage and Templars conflict, or geopolitical realities depicted in this series. It has been so interesting to me, both from an artistic point of view, but also as a player. Summarizing what Dragon Age truly is pretty much impossible, but its core truly resides in the personal stories of characters and the bonds between each of these stories to build its universe. Kind of like a detective pinboard with a bunch of strings connecting the characters together. And while a lot of people claim this Dragon Age wasn't bad overall, but a bad Dragon Age, I would like to claim the contrary. Our companions in this game represent more than a single person, but also a full faction. Business left undone, problems to fix, and that, my friend, is exactly what happens in Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Inquisition. A group of misfits connected by weird odds, with the same final goal in mind. But a lot of personal luggage to deal with first. A friendship built upon trust and loyalty, characters opening up about private issues in the past, a trustworthiness that makes them feel human and relatable, despite having unrealistic physical threats or magical powers in most cases. I think a core aspect of Dragon Age has also been the writing of its antagonists. They're sometimes lovable, and we most of the time understand their motives, even when they do horrible shit. It's not just black or white, but a bunch of shades of grey. Like, I do agree most of Veilguard's villains are very dark grey. There's also a lot of interesting characters. Yes, Ilario de la Morte, this is about you. Oh hi Isaiah, you are definitely part of the interesting, twisted character who became an antagonist after being presented as a protagonist. And yes, Solus, this kind of concerns you as well. But like, if you get me started on my favorite villains, I'll end up making a 2 hours long video about why I love Meredith, so let's move on. For many years, until drawing recently for this fandom, I was just a player. I consumed everything I mentioned earlier only since the last couple of years. I wasn't particularly waiting for Dreadwolf, as it was called back then, until 2021. My expectations were pretty different from other fans, I think. Simply because my favorite Dragon Age game is Dragon Age 2, and I know it's often considered as the least favorite one. I mean, before Veilguard at least. I was excited to hear Varric and the teaser that we had back in those days, to see the art and murals that really remind me of Dragon Age 2 aesthetics. So my expectations for this game before playing it was to have a Dragon Age 2 scope focused on the companions, the new protagonist being a bit more like Hawk, just someone and not a chosen one a la Inquisitor. And that's what happened, so I wasn't disappointed in the slightest. In this section of the video, I would like to sort of debunk what you might have seen and heard on the internet about this game. So anyone saying things like, it looks like Fortnite or Disney or Overwatch, and it's not dark enough. Anything about the art style and art direction and graphics, basically. So I would like to reply that no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. I think, and this is my artist side speaking, that we're facing yet another example of color bias. Something colorful is often identified as childish or unserious, but colors doesn't make something less serious. A great example of that are the Ghibli movies. Color leaves space for contrast. When you go to Demeter's Crossing or The Fade, everything is dull in comparison, and you feel the shift in tone. If it's dark from the start, it's less impactful. Also again, see how people like to consider Ghibli movies as cute and peaceful aesthetics, when the core of these movies are about the violence of our own modern society. That's what I call a bias. We stay on the first impression, which is often based on cliché and prejudice, and just don't see the rest. It's so sad, but it also speaks a lot in this case. Everyone who says this wasn't dark enough or it looked like a childish game, they didn't play the game. They base it off trailers and stuff they saw online. Colors are a great indicator to show like how different that blight is in comparison to the past. It's a lot more organic. It was dead and predictable in Dragon Age Origins, but that double blight is more alive than ever. It's twisted, chaotic, red cysts pulsing like a heart filled with blood, dark veins on galls and other darkspawns. The skin looking overall more wet, gooey. It's giving body horror, and I really don't understand how people can say they don't look disgusting enough. Another complaint I often saw online was there's only 2 companions and we cannot control them. I would have loved a third companion, banter-wise, but gameplay-wise it works so much better that way for the synergies and combos. I'll come back to the gameplay later on, but honestly, in other games, I mainly played as the other companions who cast spells or heal the stupid asses when they walk into flames. Since they're now immune to damage, I don't really need that, and I can easily use their abilities without having to switch between characters, so it's not something I minded much. Let's move on to stuff I read too much online but doesn't make any sense to me. But the lore, or this game erased what we did in the past, and people screaming about retcon. So, I would like to say the lore is very solid in this game. It follows the event of Dragon Age Origins, the A2, and Inquisition, and even the extended media, leading to its culmination. I feel like anyone playing this game without the first 3 games and the other media in mind might not enjoy it as much because it's ending so many different storylines we've seen since the beginning. Even the impact from meeting characters previously mentioned, like In the Flesh, felt amazing. Years after first reading Tevinternight, getting to meet characters like Antoine and Evka, Neve, Lucanis, Ilario, Viago, Teia, Katerina, and everyone else just hits different. Even reading the name Felasan again made me smile and sob when I first played. The game answers a lot of questions that were mere theories until now. What truly are archdemons? What's the Blight? What's Lyrium and its connection to Titans? The origin of elves? Fire-breathing Canary? The storm? So many things. The part about past choices? Sure, I would have loved more Dragon Age skip options, but like, it's a different continent, and it's 22 years after Origins. What we did matter back then, but just because my warden saved the city once doesn't mean it can't be blighted 2 decades later. I hate people mentioning retcon in Dragon Age because the whole point of its storytelling are unreliable narrators, either from characters telling you their own biased point of views, or from codices written by characters who might be completely wrong. You can't retcon something that's been wrong since the start, and there's probably no one in Tethys who knows the whole truth. I always loved how authentic and realistic that aspect of the writing was. That part of uncertainty in every codex, connecting information we got since the first game to understand what's hidden between the lines, and all of that. Also, little fun facts? Question mark? When I started drawing Tarquin, a shadow dragon from the game, a lot of people commented, "Wait, he's trans?" It's something you can read in a codex written by Tash when they explore the different pronouns and identities amongst the shadow dragons, but also something he says indirectly when you talk to him about his Templar past. Yet a certain amount of people didn't understand it or didn't read it. And then the same people say the game is missing lore or talk about its too direct writing when they're not even reading the codex handed to them or understand implicit dialogues. Speaking of transsexuality, there's my biggest pet peeve when it comes to people complaining about Veilguard. It's woke garbage. Excuse me, it always have been woke garbage. That's why a lot of us play it. Dragon Age Origins, we got bisexual romances. There's even a drag queen in Denerim's brothel. Dragon Age 2, all the companions are bi or pansexual, except Sebastian. Dragon Age Inquisition, we got a chaotic lesbian rogue, a gay necromancer, bisexual icons, a trans man who doesn't know how to sit properly on a chair. If you know, you know. So, where were you in 2009? Why is this news to you? Nothing screams, "I've never played a Dragon Age game," louder than claiming Dragon Age The Veilguard is bad because it's woke. Let's move on to the next critics I read way too many times around the time the game was released. The gameplay is shit, and there's only 3 spell capacity slot? What? So people complaining about this truly didn't play the game, I'm sorry. If we take Dragon Age Inquisition for example, since it's probably the closest gameplay-wise to Veilguard, jumping and attacking as a rogue required a specific capacity. In Dragon Age The Veilguard you press the jump and attack buttons and it does the same thing. No cooldown needed, no stamina. Dodging? It required an ability. Now you get a dodge button and again, no cooldown, no stamina. Abilities are truly unique things and you can unlock more combos and moves by spending skills points on passive skills. Another fun thing I noticed when the game wasn't released yet is how everyone wanted to compare it to games like God of War and Baldur's Gate 3 for some reason, when I really struggled to see any type of link between the 3 of them. Except maybe for a couple of abilities when you play a warrior rook. Besides being amazing RPG games, they have nothing in common for me. Another game series that people referred to a lot was Mass Effect, and that part I agree with, but only for the synergies and companion ability wheel aspect. The rest is so different. To be fair, the gameplay reminds me a lot more of Devil May Cry and Musou warrior games. Here's why. In Devil May Cry, you get to unlock more combos as you go. You switch between 2 types of weapon, long distance and short distance. You have a button to jump, do a light attack, a heavy attack, and one to dodge, basically. In Veilguard, it works in a very similar way, where you end up doing combos and press different buttons on your controller, or keyboard I guess, to use a different move. In a warrior game, it's pretty similar too, but they also have a bar that works like the ultimate attack you load in Veilguard. You can get more of it by attacking a lot of enemies or by breaking jars that will refill it quicker. Even with that many things in common, I never read an article or a player mention these as comparison. It's wild to me. Here is why I love the combat gameplay. In terms of difficulty and settings, it's very accessible and quick to change, and highly customizable. I didn't like playing with the attack indicators, for example, so I just turned that off. Since the screen turns red when you're low on health, I also removed the health bar from my screen. Like, I even fought Dragon when I had the entire game UI removed, just based on my muscle memory and the indicators on screen. Low health? Again, the screen turns red. My companion's ability cooldown is ready? They'll say it out loud. The audio design is fantastic, by the way. Very intuitive and practical for people like me who do not like to check the icons and cooldowns every 5 seconds. I simply listen and act accordingly, most of the time. I also like the fact that you can use abilities without having to pause the whole game every time. I was scared the ability wheel was the only way to use them, but you can simply enjoy the dynamic gameplay without breaks, if you're more into that. Every time I see someone play, we all have different things activated or different ways to play or enjoy battle. So you can truly see the strength of that gameplay loop in the way players can adapt it to their liking. If we had to compare it to past games, Dragon Age Origins was slower, more tactical RPG based, but I feel like we can still sense the DNA between both. The synergy reminds me a bit of combat tactics, and the way that you can plan combos in advance and see them in action when you need it. Every time you go and pick your teammates, you can also quickly see who does what, and what type of synergy exists between the three of you. So it's like setting up the tactics back then, to me. Dragon Age 2 was similar, but in a more dynamic way. Their first shift to something more action-based. It's been my favorite gameplay of the series before Veilguard came out. Dragon Age Inquisition wanted to be more dynamic than Dragon Age 2 was. But the more I played it, the more I disliked the combat. It was too rigid for something trying to lean into action. I did enjoy the tactical cam though, but it felt somewhat inconsistent or indecisive in its gameplay. Like they were both trying to keep Dragon Age Origin tactical aspect and mix it with some action RPG, without fully leaning toward one or the other. It ended up being a weird in-between. Veilguard gameplay finally made a decision and leaned toward pure action. The strategy still appears while more limited, but it's replaced by very fun and engaging gameplay. I have more than 400 hours on this game now, and I keep playing with higher difficulties just to have fun with the battles. For comparison, I mostly play the other Dragon Age games, and most of my games in general, at a lower difficulty to focus on story and get on with it. That's just how much I love it. It itches my brain in the best spot somehow. I also love when games give us very accessible options to respect our characters, instead of having to pay for it later on in game. I explore the skill trees of all three classes a lot more, having fun with combos and passives. I also remember a lot of people mentioning how much they dislike the mage, because of the mana regeneration speed. That's something you can actively change and improve as you level up and wear the right gear. At some point, I was able to cast like 8 abilities in 5 seconds if I wanted to. There were so many cool passives and combos you can unlock in the skill tree. I really advise people to explore it more. Just the other day I read someone discovering there was a way to regenerate mana with the staff, almost a year later of playing this game actively. I think the biggest strength of this combat system is how fun it is to work with synergies, rune, equipment and all of this. So please, read the skill and bonuses. Be curious, explore. It's so much fun, I promise. Let's quickly talk about the music now. I could also make a whole essay about it, but here's a quick summary of what I think of it. It's a banger. One, if not my favorite of the whole series. There's so many different line motifs. They're also very well used for narrative purposes and cutscenes, for example. There's this scene with Bellara, all clumsy and shy, and the music truly reflects that.
No.
The motives also fit the character and their personality, but also the faction and locations, once again proving how much they're all related and connected. In comparison to Inquisition, because it's one of the most beloved Dragon Age soundtrack, and I heard people complain they didn't bring Trevor Morris back. I love his work, and Inquisition music is one of my favorite of all time. But keep the tavern songs aside. They were based on actual music that existed before Inquisition and weren't even composed by him anyways. Take the main themes aside, like the main game, the DLCs, and most of the song use the downward com, aka the main theme leitmotif. In Veilguard you have at least 10 different and notable leitmotifs, instruments that sound very different from what we're used to hear before, and it really fits the we're visiting a new part of Thetis that we've never seen in person in the video games, as well as the fact ancient elves had far more advanced technology related to magic. All the way to Winter is like a cyberpunk country in a fantasy setting. That wind of fresh air and new music felt nice. This electronic instrument vibe fit just right in, especially in a game where blood magic and ancient magic is so present. In Sea of Blood, for example, the vibe truly shows how alienating the prison is, how wrong everything is in a place where so much shit was done. Blood magic, demons, torture, death. It sounds different because it isn't normal. It reflects what's happening, just like the Fates reflects reality. Let's quickly talk about the art direction too. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is like the most gorgeous game ever to me. It's like a movie but fully playable. It's so stunning to look at all the details and like so fun to use the photo mod. So the fact there is a photo mod is insane on its own. There's so much work to make it happen as a dev. I spent so many hours just having fun, seeing details up close and taking reference pictures for my art. The art style is also very cohesive and the rendering is beautiful. Most games have a difference between characters and the background and decors that makes them pop out in terms of rendering. And this game doesn't suffer from this at all. I love the way it's both very realistic but stylized in such a beautiful way. It's very inspiring as a semi-realistic artist myself. I often find realistic games impressive, but not as interesting or memorable as those with unique art styles. Here you could show me a 100 pixels tall picture of a texture and I'll know it comes from this game. It's very recognizable. The UI and UX design is easy to read and understand. I love the way you can more easily read important information as well, with the color language to show what kind of damage a weapon does or the rarity of an item, for example. It's aesthetically pretty, like that purple. Another random complaint: when people said Veilguard was weird for being purple, I wanted to scream so much. In a color palette, purple is the opposite, complementary color of green. Green represents the fade, held apart from Thetis by the veil. This is Veilguard. They are against the veil coming down, so purple is perfect to symbolize the contrary. And it's also the color of pride demons. Pride, like Solus. It makes so much sense and it's such a pretty shade too. The character design is one of my fave. The companions are flawless design-wise, and all the NPCs are recognizable with the features. Most of them use the same CC as Rook, which I always like in video games. It makes all of them look like they belong to the same world and not give main character vibes, you know. Also, it's always fun to find your Rook's non-playable character look-alike in the game. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm kinda speedrunning this and barely scratching the surface. Let's talk a bit about the performance aspect of this game. They all feel organic and fun. That's really what I love about mocap mixed with hand-keyed animation. The authenticity of real-life movements and completely impossible exaggerated moves made from imagination. The battle animations are also super satisfying to watch. You can feel the impact of every move, it's so cool. In regards to Rook, I love their mannerism. Their little proud dad poses. The things they do with their hands when they talk, or like them almost falling off a ledge or drowning. They're so dramatic. The animations are just so nice, especially after replaying older Dragon Age games where it could be a little weird and uncanny valley sometimes, or just inexpressive. Here, Rook feels so alive. The hair technology and options are wild in this game. We went from pretty cool hairstyles in Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 to 50 shades of bold in Inquisition, to a variety of hairstyles, hair textures, hair length, even for Kunaris, and so many cool colors with a top-notch hair physics, even if it goes wild sometimes. It's just stunning to look at. I'm still amazed by the technical aspect of it. I hope they'll use it in other games, eventually. It would be such a shame to not use such cool tech, but then again, it belongs to EA and I'm not sure they give a fuck about it anymore. The details of animations in the lighthouse are such a lovely touch to the game and feel so nice and comforting. The different animations when you go pet-a-san, playing rook, paper, scissors, as I like to call it, with Fred. It's technically useless, but effectively such a great addition. As for the companions, I once again love how much of their personality is shown through their animation. The tiny details such as Nev's posture due to her prosthetic leg, Belara's tendency to cover back with her happy to carry a large bag, or Devrin carving his wooden statuette, but also all the soft gazes, the visible fear, love and hatred in her eyes. Again, as someone who draws characters all day long, it's such a meticulous work to convey emotions that way. Lower the eyebrows too much and your characters look angrier than it should. Raise them too high and they'll look shocked. It's incredible to have such a detailed animation, especially for fully customizable characters like Rook. The non-playable characters are also lovable and well written as well. I'm glad the animation makes them justice too. It's interesting how people will always complain when the animation work is badly done in a video game, but ignore it and take it for granted as soon as it's well done. When Starfield and Mass Effect Andromeda was released, they got complaints for the way the animations were done, but when it's well done like in Veilguard, silence. As if it was easy and expected. It's kind of sad to me. When something deserves praise, you can bet on me, I'll always give it the praise that it deserves. The animations and performances for the cutscenes are probably the best of all games, technology-wise and the factory speaking. There's a bunch of older Dragon Age cutscenes that I absolutely love, even if they age since. But like, you can't deny you wouldn't love to see the past game cutscenes in that rendering, with that quality of animation, lighting and texturing and all. On a side note, I adore the work done on the 2D animations too. The use of patterns really add to the narrative, and the colors are amazing. I really want to make my own cutscene in that style for my Ruka's companion questline someday. About the localization and dubs. As a Swiss potat, he speaks French and studied English and German at school. So I really like to try out every dub when Dragon Age games come out, since they're always available in this tree. It's a fun way for me to rediscover the same game and the characters somehow. Veilguard made no exception. I finished the game fully with 4 rooks, 2 times in French, once in English and once in German, switching to English from time to time when I was too tired to focus. Cause yeah, my German isn't as good as my English. Let's start with the original dub. I love it. It's so good. I only had a hard time with a few voices because I played the original dub after the French one and preferred a few voices and like their tone in my language, but that's just personal taste. But like the performance of each actors, the delivery of each line, just general acting is perfect. They brought the character to life in such a wonderful way. For the French dub, I have a sweet spot for French Mask Rook. A brief digression here, but Marc Maury, the actor, played in a French musical that I knew and was obsessed with before the game was released, and also dubbed the character in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, who funnily enough fights Sola's French VA too, so hearing them argue in Veilguard was fun. Also, I prefer Jacobus in French. His voice is a tad bit too mature in English for me, while the French dub managed to get that angry teenager vibe. Oh, and for context, if you don't know me, I headcanon that one of my rook adopted Jacobus, so he's like one of my favorite NPC. One of the things that impressed me the most in French was how they dealt with non-binary terms. See, French is a very gender language, and usually we use what we call the gender-neutral masculine when it comes to genderless terms. So basically it's like using he, but with the intention of a they. It doesn't make much sense, but that's what's been the norm for centuries. But a bit over a decade ago, the LGBTQIA communities created il, which sounds like a mix of he, il, and she, elle. Before Veilguard, I never heard it used in a video game, or at least not as broadly, and they managed to find the right words, pronouns, articles, and other determiners to make it sound so natural. It told me a lot of things that I know use in real life since. I'm super thankful for that representation. It's time for the German dub. As I said, I'm less fluent in German, so I kept it for my last playthrough. so that I could follow even if I didn't understand it all, since I already did that 3 times before. Overall, the dub is very good in my opinion. I'm still traumatized by Viago's German voice though. But otherwise, I really like the job done here. It's like an in-between of the English dub, keeping accents that do not exist in the French dub at all, but the tone of the character resembles the French ones more. Except Emmerich, he sounds almost like Nick Borain, it's crazy. Also, I made a few TikToks in the past about the difference of pronunciation and localization of certain words in a Dragon Age game. And it's so funny for me to see all of these little differences. Like Emmerich is pronounced Emmerich in French. Jacobus is pronounced Jacobus. But also faction names change a lot. Veil Jumper become Mandataire du Voile. The Veil part remains, but the Jumper part got swapped for Agent, so Agent of the Veil. In German though, it's Schleienspringer, which is literally Veil Jumper too, so it's pretty accurate. Overall, I feel like the German localization is a lot closer to the original material. The French version took more liberties, but it works as well that way. Again, I'm keeping this as short as possible to not just drop a 4-hour long video, but let's talk about the story of the game. Its main themes are regret, teamwork, and somehow the 5 stages of grief, not only from Rook's perspective, but also Solas's and Ivanhoe's. Act 1 is very great at setting the narrative and summarizing what happened before to new players. That's something overlooked by many, but every Dragon Age new entry tried to find a way to explain things for both new players and long-time fans. Finding that right balance between over-explaining and setting down the tone is very hard to capture. From my opinion and what a few people who discovered Dragon Age through that entry told me, it was enough for them to understand what was happening, but also not saying too much, so that they got interested in playing the past games to fully capture everything mentioned in Veilguard. This act also introduced Rook to the rest of their companions, putting them all through difficult choices and sacrifices. Act 2 starts right after Weiss out. The team realizes they have issues to deal with in order to have the peace of mind required to stay focused the next time they'll face the pair of semi-gods. Each companion's quests follow each other's nicely, combined with the factions-related quests and exploration. In my first playthrough I barely used Diluvians to quick travel, simply to enjoy more of the combat, banter and exploration, switching my companions often. It took me 6 days to reach Act 2, 5 more to beat it, and Act 3, since that act is the shortest. And Act 3 is absolute cinema. The Tearstone Island bit made me so scared, especially the first time. For context, I was playing a dwarf romancing Lace Harding, and when we got to pick someone to lead the second team, I dropped my controller for a few minutes. I wanted her in my team, but roleplay-wise, it felt normal that Rook would trust her most. But I followed my initial gut feeling and picked Davrin as the leader of the secondary team. When I saw him die, I knew this could have happened to Lace instead, and my heart was broken. But oh boy, that was only the beginning. Then arrived the Fate Cage made for gods, and the reveal that broke my heart so much that I cried for like 4 hours straight afterward. Another digression, but since I discovered Dragon Age through Inquisition and played in French first, Varric's French VA is like my canon Varric in my heart, you know? So when I first played Veilguard and heard his voice was slightly different, I checked the credits to be sure it wasn't just the 10 years in real life changing the actor's voice a little. But no, I wasn't wrong. He got voiced by a new actor because the original French Varric VA passed away. So basically I went from mourning the voice actor to mourning the character, as if both suddenly disappeared. I was in delusion since the first gameplay trailer from summer 2024, where they showed us the ritual scene. People on the internet kept saying RIP Varric, but I wanted to believe he was fine. Then when the embargo from early testers lifted, I saw his icon on the map of the lighthouse, and I was happy because he made it all alive. So when I finally got the game in my own hands, I thought he would be fine, that all that fear was behind me, that my favorite dwarf was finally forced to rest and let the others deal with all the crap. I was happy he was bedridden because he was safe at least. And then Act 3 happened. Just saying this out loud makes me want to sob again. This character means so much to me, and that death broke my heart in a way that after playing, I suddenly hated Solus for it. I'm so sorry, Pookie. On a brighter note, the romance scene after all that drama are so cute. I'm also very fond of the special romance scenes with Belara or Nev, if they got blighted by Elganad, because the angst of it is just incredible. The dialogue options are also very nice, because I truly felt like for once the headcanons I have for my protags were more than just headcanons. The way we can tease our love interest or say how much we were scared of the fate, or joke it off, all matches so many types of Rook that is impressive to me. Also kudos to my boy Lucanus for being such an adorable and well-written demisexual representation, because my gosh, I felt so seen. I really love the pacing of the whole game, the culmination when you do main quests that have drastic outcomes, and the way every companion appears together. I feel like seeing the whole protagonist squad like that is pretty new to Dragon Age. Normally it's only during very specific cutscenes like the end of Dragon Age Trespasser, but they do not really interact much all together at once. Seeing this is very refreshing in Veilguard, that together and whatever it takes haunts me forever. When it comes to choices, there are more than what people think. Most people say only the Minratus versus Treviso choice had a true impact, but they truly forgot about the rest. There are so many choices that change little details, so yeah, it's not a big scale difference. But it's still great to see the consequences of your actions. Demeter's mayor fate, for example. Julius can simply be killed, here and there, saved, but we see him become a Venatary during the ritual in Arleton Forest, or sent to the Grey Wardens, which is my favorite outcome for him. So there's that one quest called Lives Paired in Osberg Wetlands, where you find a bunch of corpses and a lone survivor. But when the mayor is conscripted, he saved them all. And back to camp you can talk to him. He talks about how much he has changed and hopes this will repay his past mistakes. Such a little choice, but it's a great consequence. Another good example of that type of choice concerns the first warden, Joen Glastrom. It's easy to give in and punch the shit out of that man in Weishaupt, but talking to him gives him a chance to become a better dude. He also trusts Davrin and Rook a lot more when you encounter him later on, giving chase to the Gloom Howler. That is when you can actually see how much that choice mattered. Even before these choices, there's also the one between Nev and Lace, and who you pick to assist you during the ritual. It has specific dialogue for both, but also leaves them injured for the whole game. Back to the bit choices, of course there's helping Minratus or Treviso to fight blighted dragons. By the way, I'm tired of reading saving, because we don't save any of them. We just help them to get the best outcome. The companion questline choices too, like how they end. The other one would be the second team leader, the one who dies. I'm so sad there's no quest to make them survive, or even a very hard choice to not pick a side. But at the same time it would take away most of the, not only the replayability, but the impact of that choice. And more big choices are all the choices in Act 3 actually. Like picking who does what during the assault planning. It's like Mass Effect 2 somehow. If you don't pick the right ones, they might die. And each cutscenes depends on the character you picked. It's slightly different too. Like Manfred attacks alongside Emmerich. Sometimes you will see Tash or Davrin climbing up the construct, but sometimes it's Evka instead. A bunch of different versions exist. The funny part about Minratus vs Treviso is how everyone complains this game doesn't have enough major choices. But then I keep hearing people say they would never try the other option. Like, I want more choices, but I don't want to take other options. It's such a weird mindset to me. I don't know. But enough with the stories. It's time to briefly discuss the characters. Let's start with Belara. I was happily surprised by her writing. I was mostly scared that she would be the cliché nerdy girl that would easily get on my nerves. But I ended up adoring her. And a quick aside, She's my little neurodivergent Pookie. A story with a brother makes me so sad, because I have a brother as well, but also frustrated because I wanted to have more explanation about Anaris and the other forgotten ones. Lace, she was already one of my favorite NPCs in Inquisition, and yes, I got heartbroken in Inquisition when all that flirting led to nothing. But I adore her even more in Veilguard, the first dwarf romance option in Dragon Age, and what a great one it was. She legit made me giggle and blush so many times. Also, as a dwarf lore enjoyer, I was so happy to do every quest with her. Seeing that Titan made me sob. Discovering the truth, the years of making and reading theories about it all, was so emotional. Nev, I already loved her in the extended Dragon Age media when she appeared, but she also feels somewhat different in-game, and I really enjoy that. It's as if the novel and comic versions were a detective side, while she showed the real Nev behind that in Veilguard. She's such a badass character. Lucanis, one of my fave, if not my fave, companion of Veilguard. You probably know this if you know my fanart. And Tyrion Crows have always been very interesting to me due to the nature. I know a lot of people expected him to be very different, but I'm glad he's just the way he is. He's perfect like that. Funnily enough, since I helped Minrathus on my first save, I got to see another side of him before playing my second rook, romancing him, and it made me love him even more. The way he remains such a compassionate and kind man despite losing everything he held dear. He's so strong and wears his heart on his sleeve. Playing in that order made the quest Inner Demons that you only get from helping Treviso even more impactful. Davrin, another one of my favorites. I swear I love them all almost equally. He's such a well-written character too. I'm sad to see so many people consider him as Asen's dad and nothing else. He's Dalish, he's a hunter, killing monsters, writing his own guide about it, sculpting and drinking as a way to blow off steam. A bit of a flirt with a way with words, but even greater with his actions. His romance is also particularly sweet because of the Grey Warden situation. He knows his time is counted. He has learned to not get attached because people die, and so will he. Yet he can fall in love with Rook and struggles to keep those warnings in mind. I don't know, I just love drama, I guess. It doesn't help that I romance him with a Necromancer Moonwatch. Tash, they're so relatable in so many ways. I am mad every time I see a Veilguard video and they just use that one screaming face they do, you know, when their mother died, often to shit on this character or the game itself. I really love the way their questline makes them understand who they are, try to find out the right words for it. Shatan, their mother, wasn't being angry or disrespectful to them and their identity, but only wanted to understand what being non-binary meant. And the fact that miscommunication led to an argument is so understandable. Taj called their Tama, or Tamasran. This role in the Qun is meant to educate children, if I have to summarize that very quickly. They keep knowledge, and one of their roles is to attribute a rank to their children. So when Shatan was asking what it meant for Taj to be non-binary, she was wondering if it was changing anything. Taj is a warrior, which in Qunari culture is technically a male role. So for her, Tash had been an Akunat lock even before they say that. Thus, the confusion. The story truly was interesting to give more context about Qunari heritage and Riveni culture, as well as the clash of multicultural backgrounds. Emmerich, a necromancer afraid of death. Such a wonderful philosophical concept. His story and mannerism is so cleverly emotion-driven. I enjoyed discussions about fears and his vision of life, the way asymmetry is meant for the living by the end of the day. Having a fate expert who didn't omit truth nor lies was refreshing too. And Rook. There's so much I want to say about Rook. I'll start by saying I love them. It's funny how my favorite custom protagonists always have a bird-based name. Robin and Fire Emblem Awakening Hawk from Dragon Age 2, and now Rook. So as I said, one of my faves is Hawk, but also I'm not the biggest fan of Purple Hawk. I feel like most of the dialogues options are just mean mockery, but I really love Rook's purple options. They are more silly, a little more goofy and stupid. I love how it can be read as Rook is actually stupid, or Rook is acting stupid to ease the atmosphere and make other people laugh, if only for a while. And that's very sweet. Back in 2022, I made Alba, who since then became my second Rook. And all those years ago, I imagined him as a himbo who loves to joke to make people smile. It's his coping mechanism. And having that option in game was perfect. My first Rook was more on the kind path, using mostly the thumbs up and stoic options sometimes. My third one was a lot more stoic, and my fourth one was all over the place. But after 4 runs, with 4 vastly different characters and personalities, I can safely say that Rook dialogues options are great. I wish the stoic ones were angrier or meaner sometimes, but overall, I really like the role-playing aspect of them all. As for the NPCs, we have Antoine and FK, Myrna and Vorgov, Teya and Viago, so many amazing NPCs I could talk about for hours and hours, but I feel like this video is long enough. I think it's time to conclude. So in total, this video is 8,000 words of notes, but I could go on and yap forever. I probably will do that kind of video again, on more specific Dragon Age related subjects. If you like anything in particular, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this random video about a game that drastically made me happier and changed my life. I also hope you liked the time-lapse of my Dragon Age anniversary piece that played in the background of this video. Every other clips were recorded on my PS5. Now I'll go back to driving Dragon Age stuff, yap about my OCs on social media, and go on delulu about Dragon Age 5. Have a great day, bye!